here we are on episode 40. And what a week to be a conspiracy theory channel.
Boy,
So I have two incredible guests I've invited on the show today to talk about the Epstein file released from roughly a week ago. I've invited my friend Chris McKinley, who I've known for about 15 years. And my cousin Jeremiah Spelas is going to be coming on via Zoom about halfway into this show. Chris, now normally I ask our guests to introduce themselves and say their name. I know your name and I know I'm not going to fuck it up. That's one of the reasons I do that, is so I don't screw people's names up. But I would like for you to introduce to the audience tell a little bit about yourself and what you do, and then we'll get into your podcast and your band. But share with the audience, who is Chris McKinley?
Who is, man? That's an existential question. Well, I host Actual Eye Podcast. We do a weekly live stream series titled Meaning Making 101, where we try to make sense of this world together and see what we can do to be that change we wish to see. You know, the old adage, change the world by changing yourself. Our tagline is kind of change the world from the inside out. Mm-hmm. You know, all the hacking at limbs that we do of treating of symptoms doesn't seem to solve these long-term problems that we find ourselves facing generationally as a species. But we can treat the root, and that's within each one of us. So we focus a lot on philosophy. I used to do guided meditations on the channel, a lot of deep dives into the great mystery of life and things like that. And then we started getting into some current events as well and seeing how we can deal with the current events of our day from this kind of posture, this orientation, where we come from a place of seeking to understand those with whom we disagree and even challenge our own conceptions and see how we can grow together. So that's the podcast. Yeah.
Chris, you and I met during the Occupy Wall Street
Yes, we
days.
did, right after I tried to start Occupy Shepherdstown, and that was actually harder than I expected, but Occupy Martinsburg was up and running really well. That's where I met you and Jake, met some great friends. John Suntiger, man.
Yeah, fan.
Miss that guy.
And what was how did you say her name? Marlena? Was it Marlena she had the tattoos?
Oh, gosh, we lost her too.
Marlene,
Marlena, I think it was. Yeah, I remember her spelling, Marlene.
So that was one of the reasons I was happy to have you on the show, because we've known each other for a long time. We've had a lot of conversations. I feel very comfortable talking to you, expressing different ideas or thoughts.
You too, Rob.
Been a strange time, since we've met. We've been through quite a bit, the corona and all that.
Doesn't it feel like the rate of change is increasing exponentially right now?
Oh, yeah. It's
I think
crazy.
That's going to continue.
Let's go ahead, Nick, and let's pull up for our audience. Let's go ahead and talk about your podcast, how people can watch it, follow it, and listen to it, and tell our audience about your co-host and how long have you guys been at it?
Oh, gosh. Wow. That's a really good question. I started the podcast around, I think, 5 years ago.
You can scroll through the podcast if you want, Nick. Just clip on a few things.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, check out. We got a bunch of good shorts that I've been putting out, and you can see the live stream there. Welcome to go through and look at things, guys. Yeah, so we are on YouTube, obviously. We're on Rumble. We're on X. We're on Facebook. I've got us everywhere I can possibly get us. Mm-hmm. So we multi-stream live every Wednesday, 7 p. EST. And then, this is what we're doing now. So, yeah, that's a good look at it.
Now, how long have you guys been at it, and how did the channel start?
It started as kind of like a meditation podcast and a self-realization podcast. And it has really grown because I wanted to bring it on live and I wanted to get into video. It started out just audio. So the podcast is also, of course, audio, Spotify, Google, Apple, all those places. And when YouTube started really to come up a lot in the podcast scene, I realized I need to get there too. And so I invested in, at first we started out with just a cheap camera and a Tascam mic. And I brought my buddy DJ from the band on and as a co-host, and we've been doing it ever since, past couple of years now.
I love that.
Yeah.
I enjoy. I listen to it, not as much as I should, but I do enjoy listening to it. And let's go ahead and talk about American Dharma. You mentioned your band. This is your Facebook page, I believe, that we
Oh, yeah.
have up here now. For people interested in following American Dharma, besides Facebook, what? That's a good image. What other? Play that for a minute, Nick. What is that?
We're up here at Bad Apple Studios. Mr. Mark Siegel in the house. Mr. DJ here. There's DJ.
That's the co-host of your podcast.
Yeah, Mark Flegel that you guys saw runs Bad Apple Studios. Doing great work out there. You can look him up on the socials.
You can go ahead and close that down.
So yeah, that was a little preview while we were in the studio recording. So yeah, that album is coming up. Look up American Dharma. We'll be releasing this upcoming album. I'm thinking maybe March or April. Still working that out. But yeah.
One of my, as long as I've known you, you played music. You were a front man when I first met you way back in 2010, 2011 kind of thing. How did music become part of you? How did music become this passion that you've had for so many years? I want to start with that. And then I think maybe we'll talk a little bit about your evolution creatively.
Okay. That's a really good question. It's funny because I can't believe it's already been 20 years of making music. I started in earnest in my mid-20s. I was talked into it by some good friends of mine, a buddy named James and a buddy named Mike. And I won't put your all's last names out there for, reasons. But I definitely appreciate those gentlemen for talking me into it because I didn't want to. I'm a shy guy. At least that's what I was until I got used to coming out on stages. And slowly but surely that has helped me become a little bit more extro in this world. It's been a gift. It's helped me find myself in ways that I could not have foreseen. But the music, I was just sitting there. I think we were just playing video games in the living room. Mike was kind of diddling around on his guitar, and he was playing some kind of a catchy lick. And I was humming along to it, not really noticing that I was doing that, but I've always done that. And he was like, "Hey, man, that sounds kind of good." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "What you're humming there, that's actually kind of a cool melody, and you got a good voice, man. You should sing." And then they started talking about me being their vocalist because they all had a band together. And I was like, "Nah, man, nah." It was a couple days of them working on me, but before they were like, "Well, just try one song." And I was like, "It'll be a fun little creative project. Why not?" So that's what happened. I started writing to this song, and I've always written poetry. That's another side. I don't know why I've always been into the written word, but I have since I was young.
Yeah.
I've always read. I've always written. So all of a sudden I found myself in this most addictive hobby that I'd ever encountered in my life, because putting the words to music is a puzzle. It's an art form in its own. And so it was the joining of poetry with music, and so you get this tonality and this emotional expressive layer that gets added onto it, and you get the patterning of fitting the beats, and man, it was just, I was hooked, and that was it, man.
One of the things with music and musicians, right? And for me, and I was thinking about this when I was riding over here. You actually you saw my last public exhibition. You came over to Frederick, Maryland. My last public art exhibition was in, I'm going to say 2013, maybe 2012. I was part of a retrospective at Frederick Community College with Mike Mendez, and you were there.
That was awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you. My artwork, when I was an active artist, my work was two-dimensional. Photography, painting, stuff like that. I rarely collaborated. So that for me is something that I always find fascinating with musicians. So my question is, what are some of the more successful collaborations you find as a musician, and what is it about other people that makes that collaboration successful, right? Because there's people you can collaborate and you go, it's not going to work. This isn't, and then all of a sudden you can find people that this is it. This is what I'm looking for. So talk to me about that collaboration. What is that like?
Ooh, that's hard to put in words, man, because it is, people often describe being in a band as like being in a four-way marriage. It can be like that. It can be really hard, but it can also be incredibly fulfilling because you all are kind of challenging each other, but you're also complementing what each other are doing. And you're finding those ways to fit in with one another, and you're coming up with ideas you could not have possibly come up with otherwise, because drummer's doing this, bassist is doing that, keyboard's doing this, guitarist is doing that. And you notice on the fly while we're practicing, I notice this a lot, how we're influencing each other's playing emotionally all the time. So that's really cool. But it does take a certain amount of willingness to let other people have their room too. You got to be willing to step back, and that's something that you just kind of learn as you go. I had to learn a lot. I used to overcomplicate things a lot as a singer. So there's a lot of give and take, but it's just a magical thing. It's amazing how naturally it happens. This is an inbuilt capacity that humans possess, I think, to co-create together.
For me, the most collaborative experience, of course, was making my film trailer Trash a Film Journal.
Oh man! Yeah.
And at one point, I have to surrender, I have to give, and I have to trust the people I've picked to be part of
That's
this,
it, man.
right?
Yeah.
And to fall in love and let them make their contribution to the arching piece of
That's a big part of it. Trust, falling in love with what they do.
Yeah. So no, I envy, and I'm happy that you found people that you collaborate well with, and you incorporate DJ. That's your friend that's on the podcast with you, right? So that's cool. I really enjoy that.
Yeah, and it's cool because DJ and I had not talked for a few years. When we started talking again, it was actually this great sigh of relief to realize that independently we had both come to the same conclusion about a lot of the things going on in the world today. So he was, of course, the perfect choice for a co-host, and we've reestablished our friendship. He's, a great best friend of mine, and I greatly treasure that person, as well as Jesse in the band and Mike, who is now our keyboardist. It's just amazing. It's brought a whole level of texture and composing skill and just sound that I could not have expected. So it's a unique mix. And on the side of art, I've always been fascinated with art because I've been looking on how can we help influence this world in a positive way. And I realized politics, is so much hacking at limbs. And the culture always seems to be most influenced by the artists. So that was one of the main draws for art for me as a person. I think I noticed that in you as well.
Yeah, same here. Like, art and music, it's the foundation of my intellectual life, the beginning of how I what's right or wrong, how I think. But we're going to have some fun, and we're going to get into some of this craziness that everyone is attuned to.
Everyone.
The first clip I want to get your response to, and this is kind of cool because you haven't seen this. I played this clip. This is a little bit before Christmas. This is on my episode, a Slopjaw Christmas or something like that. Nick, go ahead and play this clip.
Countdown clock on when that person gets pardoned? David?
I just think there should be more shame for conspiracy thinking. If you think January 6th was an inside job, if you think 9/11 was an inside job, you are spreading the kind of acidic disinformation that destroys all our institutions. And just to ride my hobby horse for a little bit, if you think the FBI and Joe Biden's Justice Department is hiding some massive conspiracy about Jeffrey Epstein, you are defaming the men and women of the FBI and the DOJ. And it's an attempt at dehumanization. And people spin these conspiracy theories, and so I'm just questions are being asked. It's all dishonorable inference, but it has clear corrosive effects on democracy, that if we can't trust the institutions of our government, then we do not have a democracy. And conspiracy thinking is a kind of acidic kind of mental disease that undermines that.
Indeed, David
You
Brooks.
can go ahead and
Cape
close
Wow.
that down.
That's some sophistry if I ever heard it.
That didn't age too well. That's less than 2 months old. David Brooks is named in the Epstein files. And I shared with you in our group chat, his boss, who is Steve Jobs' widow, owns the Atlantic. Deep personal
connections,
friends
yeah.
with Epstein
Ghislaine.
and spending time on
How do you
the
say that
yacht.
name? Is it Ghislaine or Ghislaine?
It sounds right to me. Nick, do you know?
One of those two.
I always heard Ghislaine.
Ghislaine.
My first question, the first thing I want to talk to you about is the compliance of the mainstream media, what's called legacy media, in covering this as well as many things up. Brooks is probably one of the big voices that for a decade now has crushed. And he goes on PBS to say, well, there's nothing here. I was just having dinner with him, right? But what it tells me, you're supposed to be a journalist. They have no fear of you. You're eating in their company. You're not there for journalism. You're there because you're a propagandist. In the Slopjaw Christmas Story, I called him Joseph Goebbels because that's the way I view him, right? That you're supposed to be a journalist, but you're telling me, no free inquiry, nothing, just, your thoughts on Brooks and others like him that have really helped to be part of this cover-up?
Well, they use terms like conspiracy theorists readily because it automatically paints a stain on anybody that's thinking in this way. Right. It's so that is quite a buzzword nowadays. So that's one way of just of influencing people to dismiss ideas you don't want them looking into.
The one too is the shaming, right?
Oh yeah.
He talks about the shaming. And that is the one thing that we've seen for like a decade now, to shame into submission, right?
Oh, yeah.
Ostracize, to push people aside, to split us even further apart.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer. The first major story that actually came out of this almost immediately involved Jay-Z. So I thought maybe we would take a look at some of the accusations being made about Jay-Z and talk about just how implicated in this our entertainment industry is. Ooh, Nick, will you play the next clip and I'll get Chris's thoughts on it?
Are you not doing The Simpsons?
I'm going to hold The Simpsons maybe towards the end. I'm sorry about getting out of order. Nick kills me when I get out of order.
Producing more than 3 million pages.
As soon as he was naming the Epstein files, they gonna take all the posts down and everything.
She hashtagged it child predator.
Jay-Z just got caught up and hit with some disgusting allegations tied to the biggest sex trafficking ring happening right now. Jay-Z, Pusha T, and some very powerful...
Yeah, scroll it up to 2. Yep.
Pushed around. I'm not gonna back down anymore. I'm not gonna back down ever again. Amen.
Well, Nicki Minaj just said, I told you so, now that Jay-Z's been tied to Epstein. And Nicki is now saying that some more damning information about Jay-Z is about to come out.
Nicki says your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate and kill them as a form of a blood sacrifice to their god. When your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. The destruction that's about to come down on them isn't funny. I told y'all. She says, imagine if a 30-year-old rapper was out there with a 16-year-old in this day and age and how y'all would have had his head on a platter. Then she says, what in the f-? And she hashtagged it child predator.
In the Epstein files, an anonymous woman claims she was abducted, drugged, and allegedly woke up naked to find Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein in bed with her. She claims that she was abducted and violated by powerful rich men, including Jay-Z, from the late 90s all the way to the early 2000s, to which she alleged the rapper Pusha T got involved as a handler, as these rich men would abuse her, drug her so that she wouldn't know what was happening, and sent her back to the streets. And this is according to a police report that was filed in 2019. But now that the documents are released, some people are saying that Jay-Z might be innocent. And even
Whew.
Yeah.
Dark, man.
Dark.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein and Jay-Z.
Yeah. And
Now, I could see that, but wow.
yeah. And when we were talking earlier, one of the things I said to you is that they've left, all you got to do is start digging into. Nicki Minaj posts a picture. It's Jay-Z with a 15-year-old Aaliyah hanging all over him. She posts a picture of a 30-year-old Jay-Z with a 16-year-old Beyonce hanging all over him. So it's not... It's easy to go, yeah, there could probably be some truth in all of this. He also is the producer of the halftime show, right? He produces the halftime shows at the Super Bowl. But he's kind of disappeared now. I mean, I don't think he's made any public appearances.
He's kind of hiding out in the background, isn't he?
Can you play the song real quick for a minute, Nick? Because this is probably the last time I'll be able to listen to a Jay-Z song. Because look, when everything broke with
right,
Diddy, I could never listen to Bad Boy again. But this was always my favorite Jay-Z song. Big Pimpin'.
Yeah.
You know I thug 'em, hug 'em, love 'em, leave 'em, but I don't trust or need 'em. Take 'em out the hood, keep 'em looking good with diamond cuts.
He would be a prime suspect that you would approach if you were involved in some kind of favor system.
You can go ahead and turn it off. And it's almost like, the song is called Big Pimpin'. Who's he pimping to? Harvey Weinstein? So yeah, there's if you look into their artwork, and you and I were talking about, he does the symbol thing. I don't really know what the symbol is, but it's one that
people equate with
Jay-Z.
Illuminati and Jay-Z. All these celebrities are seen doing this. Yeah,
we were talking about the one where what's Jim Carrey, the comedian, did it on and made
yeah. What did he call it?
The kids, all mocking tongue, not the all seeing eye, but the all mocking tongue.
Instead of doing the eye, he did the tongue.
Yeah, and it was almost like he was trying to tell us what was really going on.
It seems like some people have tried to in the past.
Yes.
Yeah,
they have.
And who knows how? I try to remember the term, like favor banking or something like that. That the elites use favors as a sort of currency.
Yes.
And of course, we know Epstein was almost certainly using it for blackmail and influence and.
And I think people will genuinely sell their soul for,
fame, for power.
Yeah, it's almost like I can't remember the name. It's Mephistopheles, the doctor that sells his soul. You hear all of these stories growing up, and I was always I wanted to believe as a young man that this didn't exist.
Of course.
No fucking Satan shit, all that kind of stuff. And now, I've completely began to really reevaluate all of my spiritual and philosophical beliefs because of, I don't know.
Well, you remember learning about the owl worship and often redwoods of California, Moloch and all of that.
Yeah. And what's the one place that the rich people go to? It's
Bohemian Grove.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you brought up John Kerry. Him and George Bush ran against each other. They're both former members of Skull and Bones.
Right. Yeah. All of these, secret societies. Nick, let's go ahead and play the next clip that we have queued up. And if you want at this point, you can go ahead and reach out.
I let Jeremiah hop in I'm just waiting on him to join the waiting room. So
awesome.
You going with the
most bizarre clips, and we're going to take this from a minute. This is Kim Iverson. I really enjoy her channel. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but I think she's great.
She does some good work.
Talking to law enforcement, saying African-American males so he witnessed this, African-American males having sex with white blonde females, all of whom were bleeding during intercourse. He was a victim of a type of ritualistic sacrifice in which his feet were cut with a scimitar, but left no scarring. I don't know if I'm saying that right. On the yacht, he witnessed babies being dismembered, their intestines removed, and individuals eating the feces from these intestines. He was also raped by George Bush Sr. Victim disclosed he was escorted to the FBI building by Michael Moore, who is the creator of True Pundit, described by multiple online sources as a conspiracy-driven news website that attempts to paint the FBI in a bad light. So I think that's a different Michael Moore than maybe the one we're thinking of. Moore has a criminal record as a result of an FBI investigation. Let me know if you want to discuss the former FBI agent that called this into the head office. Thanks. And then it says, I didn't realize Bush raped him too. And the response was, he has more to tell us too, he said. So I think it was, I don't know if he was accusing both Bushes or just the older Bush, but okay, bizarre. But I want to bring your attention to this. This was an old video. This is of a model, Gabriela Rico Jimenez. And in 2009, 21-year-old model Gabriela Rico Jimenez, who was reportedly at a elite event in Monterrey, Mexico, was recorded on camera freaking out. Okay, and I'm going to show you the video. She's making statements, including they were eating humans. And so she was going on and on saying they're eating humans. And this was at this elite event that she went to. They said, well, she just seems to have mental health issues. But now with these other accusations coming out in the Epstein files, accusations of people eating people, let's just go ahead and take another look at this video. Okay. So she's saying they eat humans. Yes, I knew about the murders, but now they're eating humans after she went to an elite party. It gets weirder. Nicki Minaj then tweets this out.
Wow. Let's pick up with now that video has been out there in conspiracy circles for a decade. I've seen that video on several different content creators telling the story. And, the cover story was she just lost her mind. So we have all of these people. It's talking. Nick, play the vampire ball. And then, Chris, I want to hear your thoughts on the possibility that we're dealing with cannibals.
Right.
This is Vladimir Putin. He said this multiple
Unfair
times.
State of things in international affairs. For centuries, they've been stuffing their stomachs with human flesh, and they've been stuffing their pockets with money. But they must realize that this ball of vampires is about to end.
Sure.
Among Western elites, there is a strong desire to preserve the current unfair state of things.
When one evil man calls out the other.
You can close that, Nick. But we have a bunch of people talking about eating people.
Well, it's all over the emails, too.
Yeah,
so it's,
right. Yeah.
Man, that model, that young lady,
who has disappeared.
She absolutely believed what she was saying now.
Yes.
Had she lost her mind, or was she talking about something well, these emails show that there absolutely was cannibalistic practices going on.
Yes. Yeah. Ritualistic. And the fact that we're even talking about that, like Nick and I were talking earlier today, like you grow up with these medieval stories, right? Like from the Dark Ages, like there were, I want to say, some woman, some Russian queen or whatever, that's a legend. The legend is she bathed in virgin blood, right? They would sacrifice virgins. She would bathe in blood. So this is something that you grow up and you think, oh, this is just stuff that they come up with to keep kids in line or whatever, So the whole possibility that there's actually like a cannibalistic cult at the top of society. I mean, what does that imply? I mean, what the fuck is that, Chris?
It's deeply disturbing. I mean, you can tell how easily we ourselves can become depraved in the modern culture that we find ourselves in. And quick side note, I love that wholesome has become a new buzzword amongst the youth. Mm-hmm. That they're really hungry for wholesome content in media because we have been so depraved for so long. So when you know how easily we can be easily distracted by, whatever it is, we're always looking to distract ourselves in one way or another. It could be the soda, it could be the chips, it could be TV, scrolling, whatever it is. Just imagine that if you've gained so much power and influence in the world, but you haven't learned to find contentment within, you're probably going to go to the next level of depravity to try and get your rocks off. And I think it's so important for us to find a relationship with the sacred so that we don't succumb to that kind of temptation.
Right. Yeah, I agree. With cannibalism, right? Jeremiah, when hopefully we have him on, hopefully this works out. He's very much into this. You know, he was trying to explain to me some of the scientific stuff that is going on, especially with the blood. That that it's the fountain of youth, I think is what he called it.
I've heard about this stuff, but I didn't invest too much into it.
You don't want to accept it. There's no way.
Well, you just don't know, but it seems outlandish, so you don't put too much into it.
And then you have so many people talking about it now. It's like, I think,
what the hell is happening?
Yeah. My perception of cannibalism, at least my understanding of cultures that practice cannibalism, I guess that should be. Let me finish this up, and then I think we'll bring him in for the last two clips. I'm glad he's on. Is you conquer your enemy, and to prove your dominance over him, you consume him.
Yeah, to take his power.
To take his power, correct. To take his power. That's how, at least that's how anthropologists had explained this to us in the 20th century. Cannibalism for the average man was, only in the most extreme circumstances. I'm thinking of the Andes crash where you had the soccer team, the Argentine soccer team, to stay alive, that they, you have stories from the days of the ships where it's stranded, or, they would eat flesh. Only in the most extreme would you or I or the average person consume flesh. That is my perception of cannibalism. But if it has a different power for an elite, I don't know.
Well, I'm very curious to see what Jeremiah has to say about this subject, because I saw what he posted in our group chat, and the idea that consuming the blood of somebody younger can help you increase your lifespan is something that it seems that Epstein and his buddies were actually taking pretty seriously.
Can you go ahead and bring Jeremiah up? Yeah, I'm definitely excited on getting to hear my cousin's perspective on the blood thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the first thing I'm going to ask him to share a little bit with the audience. And then he actually has a personal story that he was relating to me. I told you about his life of adventure. Mm-hmm. He was in Florida, I think it was. Hey, Jeremiah, it's so great to see you. Can you see us?
What's up, brother? Looks like it.
Tell him to unmute.
Is that better?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can't see you, but I can see myself twice.
Okay. Can you see us now?
I see you now.
Awesome. Jeremiah, we were just talking about the cannibalism aspect of this. And I don't mean to be rude. I promise I'll come back and I'm going to get you to plug your social media and anything. But Chris and I were both taken by what you had shared in the group chat related to the blood. So if you could, please elaborate a little bit to our audience on the power of blood and how you were talking about, blood as what'd you call it? The fountain of youth. So did Jeffrey Epstein find the fountain of youth? Please share.
Sure, yeah. So what they say in the studies, there's this National Geographic study from 2014. I remember reading it. I always read a lot of National Geographic. And it basically said that adult blood, that we have inhibitors that block the creation of new stem cells. But like babies and children, they don't. And I think I even just saw, it's interesting, I think I saw something recently suggesting it might have to do with very high doses of oxytocin while you're young, which is interesting because that's the love chemical. But so basically, whenever they're suggesting that they took mice, and whenever they transfused baby mouse blood into the adults, that it reversed aging on a cellular level with the blood, bone, brain, tissue, and organs. Wow. And they had cognitive function that increased. They were able to perform physical attributes better, and they lived longer. And And basically, if you took the adult blood and you transfused it to the baby mice, they would just shrivel up and die. So this isn't something where it's like a sustainable process. There's not going to be babies when you're done, you know?
Oh, God.
Right.
So they were doing that with mice back in the day. And I did a lot of my own research because to me, it was a solo rabbit hole before all the stuff going on nowadays back in 2014. And, you know, you've got like Count Elizabeth Bathory. I think she was a countess in
That's who
Romania.
Yes,
she bathed in the blood of like
what?
Virgins.
Dozens, if not hundreds of virgin women.
Yes.
Yeah, virgins. So, but again, they're young. So the young vital blood. So back then, what is a virgin? It's like under the age of fucking 10. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
But
True,
back then,
true.
it was a little different. So.
Right. Yeah, your
I
lifespan
don't
is
think
just
this
30.
is something new. So I you know, you got Vlad the Impaler, which again, if you look into it, King Charles is like the 17th descendant. He brags about being a descendant of Vlad the Impaler, who was in Transylvania. It was the inspiration for Dracula, and he was a guy that the Templars and stuff set up to be like a shield against the invading like Muslims and stuff. And so they just said, hey, here's resources. Go be your sick self. And he did. And like, dude, Prince Charles has like a mansion over there that homeless children live in that he goes in and sleeps in now and then.
Oh,
It's in Transylvania. And he's like literally the heir of Vlad the Impaler, like 17 generations down.
Holy crap.
Like, it's not even something they're trying to hide or something that's like a joke. You know, at this point, it's like you can actually believe it. But imagine coming across this on my own 12 years ago, you know. But it goes on. The Talmud, it talks about a judge that had like taken the blood from a youth to maintain his vitality. So there's little pieces that are thrown in. I think that this is older than Epstein, you know.
Yeah,
and
this
it's
is an old
what it comes
secret.
down to is these people probably do believe. They probably do believe all the religious stuff, so they're afraid of what happens when they die, so they're trying to live forever.
Yeah. Wow. We're gonna play another clip, another 2 clips, and then there's a couple of topics I want to pursue with you. So be patient with me, Nick. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna get both of y'all's reaction. This one was pretty heavy duty. We're gonna play. This is it Benny Johnson? I think his name is, and we're going to play roughly 2 minutes of a piece that he just posted.
There'll be a surprise outbreak. He says there's no question. There's 100% certitude that there will be a surprise outbreak pandemic. And what do we find here in the Epstein documents that were just released? Oh my heavens. Preparing for pandemics. Let's discuss the next step. For example, how we officially involve the WHO and the CDC. I hope we can pull this off. Says Jeffrey Epstein. Look at that. Jeffrey Epstein, planning for pandemics. There's the email right there. Let's bring in the World Health Organization. Find the draft agenda for preparing for pandemics. Wow. Goodness. Who was Jeffrey Epstein so close with? Bill Gates. What did Bill Gates always say? Well, it's time for us to simulate pandemics. Simulate pandemics. Simulate pandemics. The pandemic simulation sponsored by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. These are war crimes. Listen to this.
Territory. We didn't simulate this. We didn't practice.
On behalf of our partners in the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
So both the health policies and economic policies, we find ourselves in uncharted territory.
Event 201 was not the first scripted exercise.
We didn't
Yeah, you did simulate it. You can now see it inside of the Bill Gates pandemic plans emails to Jeffrey Epstein. Go ahead and read some of these. Unsealed DOJ documents, the Epstein trove reportedly include 2011 emails laying out a sophisticated playbook for monetizing future pandemics through hidden financial structures.
This is it.
Epstein personally urged JP Morgan's elite asset management boss to create offshore arms and donor-advised funds tied to Bill Gates' initiatives explicitly designed to rake in cash under the guise of charity.
You can go ahead and close that, Nick.
Would you look?
I mean, that, right there, the whole thing was a sham to make money. Chris, I'll start with your thoughts on this whole idea that Corona 19 was fabricated and it was designed to make money and to destroy the Trump presidency.
Well, I'm pretty sure I recall Pfizer saying that they were not going to, or they were intending to not make any profit off of helping create the vaccines, and then suddenly that turned around with all the rest of the companies to follow suit. Yeah. I mean, I remember Jon Stewart on Colbert, telling the story of the chocolate factory. And I think that was a perfect analogy at the time. It was amazing how if you questioned whether it might have been lab-born in the beginning of the event, that you were called
crucified.
Far right.
Yeah.
You're equated with some far right fascism or something, which was insane. But you could tell they were controlling the narrative. There was a lot of framing going on. So the media played a big part in that, just like they did in 9/11 and everything else. So I'm not surprised Fauci saying that there's absolutely going to be another pandemic. I think the first 10 seconds of the clip prior to where we started, you can hear Fauci saying that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately no surprise, but the connection with Epstein is really crazy.
Crazy.
It's nuts. Like, this guy had his hands in everything.
Everything. Jeremiah, your thoughts on the whole idea that he orchestrated C-19 to make money?
Oh my gosh, so much to say. Okay, so I mean, you know what the first and ninth letter of the alphabet are, right?
The first and the ninth?
They're A and I.
AI.
A and I. Bro, it's transhumanism. I think strongly the whole thing, because that's what Epstein's all about, and that's what his connection to is. That same year they developed CRISPR-off. CRISPR just changes your genetic, DNA. CRISPR-off changes the range of genetic expression by activating the protein strands that connect to mRNA. So they figured out how to switch things without changing genetics, because when they changed things with CRISPR, it would cause a butterfly effect where, you change someone's eyes blue and all of a sudden their kidneys are producing not enough red blood cells. And, so when you change with CRISPR off, you don't cause that cascade effect. You're just switching something on or off and then switching it back on or off, even generations later. So that was developed 2021. The same year that they developed DNA antennas, they were creating photoreceptors on the ends of viruses that they were making out of DNA, and then they were using what's called luciferase, which is a naturally occurring enzyme that's phosphorescent inside of us. It lights up like firefly stuff.
Wow.
But they mixed it with the Venus protein, and if you're into symbolism, of course, Venus is the morning star and Lucifer is the morning star. So they got this thing to light up really bright while at the same time having DNA antennas on viruses. So they were gathering biometrics for the very simulations he's talking about on an internal biometric scale before all this shit happened. And, but 2021, all that stuff happened. Starlink happened. Yeah. And then, of course, the vaccine happened. You look into organoids, we have artificial intelligence, organoid intelligence. It's what's next, because they took skin cells and had them turn into neurons with stem cells, and then they've got 50,000 neuron wide mini brains that they have running computations, 16 of them. It doesn't use anywhere near the energy of AI, and it's pretty smart.
That
which connects to what I think.
No, go on.
Organoid intelligence. Yeah. So basically, I think what the plan is that if they make AI that's so powerful and it's a singularity, it'll destroy us because we're obsolete. So Elon himself has said the only way to avoid that is to integrate it into us so that it is us. So I think the plan is to turn us into the organoid wetware system. Wetware is biological circuitry rather than chips. We are the chips.
Yep.
And I think that they were working on bioengineering the mass into becoming the wetware system that houses the advanced AI programs that they're in charge of. And I know that sounds fucking nuts, but when you look into it, Epstein back in he started Zora Ranch back in 93.
Go on with Zorro
93,
Ranch.
I think.
Tell my audience, this is the one thing I'm most concerned about people missing is the science aspect of this, because he heavily invested in science. And you have, I've loved your post recent because everyone else seems to have kind of missed the connotations of what's going on with his mad scientist, but not you. So please tell us about Zorro Ranch and what you see coming out of that.
Zorro Ranch is an isolated ranch in New Mexico. I think it's up in northern New Mexico. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's by an area that people talk a lot about here in Boring Underground. And there's like a lot of clues. There's a dump up that direction too, deep underground military base. Well, basically he was working on impregnating 20 women at a time. Now, the thing is, if he's just trying to spread his seed, you know, you don't need the women to be simultaneous pregnancies. Now, it's reported that he's had some of these rounds of it happen. Now, they would be impregnated there, stay there, and have the kids there simultaneously, 20 kids, same time, right? Now, everyone's talking like that's just like, hey, he's seeding his DNA into the future because he sees it as superior. But he was talking to like the leader of AI. I think his name is Minsk. He was talking to like Ben Gortzel. They were talking about digitizing consciousness. A lot of them are, you know, transhumanists, which is the idea of breaking away from the boundaries. Transhumanism is basically Gnosticism. It's the Matrix. It's the idea that we can break out of the system, but the system is our body. And that we can achieve godhood by breaking out of our body into the merging of AI with our consciousness and spreading humanity into the universe as like a digital, like, you know, that can't be destroyed biologically, you know? And so they're talking about all this stuff and the ethics of it. And basically they're talking about, again, organoid intelligence systems and stuff. And I'm almost positive what they were doing is it was a server farm. And I think that he was talking about digital. Now, what made me think that he was talking about digital immortality through digitized consciousness, but he was talking about with the big guys. I mean, Deepak Shakur, Stephen Hawking, all the big guys. He was talking about how you could send information through time because you can't send matter. And can you send consciousness through time, either forward or backward through time? He's also studying entropy. And he was studying, trying to basically, there's some stuff talking about getting information from nerves. I sent you one of the things.
Yeah.
They wanted to get basically get your mind print from a dead body, you know? So the whole plan as I see it is he's creating a program they can sell to the elite. So if they get killed, they're not dead because their consciousness is digitally uploaded into a wetware system of organoid intelligence that is their biological children seeded across the world. And that this is what houses their intelligence, specifically probably his. And the Island Boys are probably Epstein's kids too, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And the idea would be that he said he had his head frozen 2 days before he died. He had like 244 million transferred to another account.
Yeah,
you know, all the death stuff. That's fucking weird. But his penises and his head were frozen. So I think what the idea would be is selling the concept of backing your consciousness up in your children that probably also runs an AI digital simulation where you're God. So you're living in a universe as a God, as a digital AI version of yourself, while also peeking out through your kids.
Wow.
While preparing for them to put your head and penis back on a cloned version of yourself, which sounds fucking nuts. But then the next Dune book's coming out. The next Dune movie, I don't mean to give stuff away, but like your ancestral memories inside of you. And then with certain trauma, you know, with certain processes, this ghost of your ancestors can come and like pilot the body. And, you know, the predictive programming, they always line these things up with the movies and then they bring it out. I think,
right.
I don't know, that's what I think.
No, that's some heavy duty stuff. And I really appreciate you being part of this conversation because I really think you've helped heavy. Let's take a look at our last video clip. I'm going to get each of you guys to give me your response to that. And then I'm going to do a little bit more of an interview with you, Jeremiah, on your own personal story with the Epstein. So let's play. This is a good one. This is Epstein is Pizzagate.
Pizzagate. Let that sink in for a minute. Jeffrey Epstein is Pizzagate. 10 years ago, Pizzagate was by far the #1 trending topic on Twitter. But the claim of pedophile elites who preyed on children was so insane that Pizzagate was shrugged off as a wild fever dream of a conspiracy theory. I was the first mainstream reporter to dare give the facts surrounding Pizzagate. My corporate career was destroyed over it, so what? My professional reputation was obliterated, that wasn't fun. And I wasn't the only one. Anyone who dared to suggest that this might be true was blacklisted, shadow banned, or thrown off of social media. But then, just days ago, the largest dump of Epstein files revealed what some of us have been telling you for a decade, that Pizzagate is real. Not that there is a pizza parlor at the center of a child trafficking ring, but that child trafficking rings run by some of the most powerful people in the world do exist. Tonight, I want to remind you of what I told you then and compare that to what we have now learned.
Pizzagate. It became a major story weeks ago when an armed man decided to investigate a D.C. area pizza place for himself. This man right here, he carried a rifle into a pizza parlor and then fired it at the floor. Media is telling you the entire story is a hoax or fake news. But what does that even mean? I spent the last month investigating. So what exactly is Pizzagate?
Well, the story that came to be known as Pizzagate did not begin with a rumor, nor was it created by Macedonian sheep farmers, as CNN actually once claimed. It began with WikiLeaks, authentic, verified emails taken from the phone of the chairman of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, John Podesta. Those emails were real. In all these years, by the way, no one has actually disputed that. Inside those emails were communications that struck a lot of people, not just online commentators, but researchers and former law enforcement, as unusual to say the least. References to pizza and to pizza handkerchiefs and to maps, to private gatherings involving powerful people, some very bizarre stuff. In fact, the first people to draw attention to those emails were a group of self-proclaimed pedophiles on 4chan and 8chan who claimed that Podesta was using the same terminology that they use to speak in coded language.
Talk about confirmation.
And in researching those emails, I found a 2010 entry into Urban Dictionary. It's still there, by the way. It confirms that cheese pizza is a commonly coded term for child pornography, CP.
I want you to see these images here. These are the images. Notice this one on the end, the triangle. That image signifies something called boy love. The pizza place next door to Comet Ping Pong Pizza, Besta Pizza, well, this was their logo until only a few weeks ago. Clearly, you can see that the Besta logo actually contains the same image, I'm going to show you again, as that boy lover image. Interestingly, after Pizzagate investigators pointed this out, Besta Pizza changed their logo.
He lost his job for this.
I really encourage everyone to check him out. That's Ben Swan. He's been all over this, Ben Swan. I'm going to start with Chris. You want to?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeremiah. Share your thoughts on Pizzagate.
I'm like an hour from LA. The LA Sheriff's Badge has 3 of those stars around it. 3 of those triangles around it, or 6.
Ugh.
Why aren't
Look at the LA Sheriff's Badge. That is the exact thing.
Wow. Your thoughts on this whole Pizzagate and Ben Swan? Had you heard of him before? Jeremiah.
Chris or me?
Jeremiah, you.
Oh yeah, I was paying attention to the Pizzagate thing for sure. It probably connects into like what you'll ask me later. So why don't we go ahead with Chris, and then I can tie it into what I'll say later.
Absolutely. Chris, your thoughts on the whole Pizzagate? I mean, one you and I both have already talked about are just total disgust and contempt with how the media has shut down any question of this.
Right.
But when you watch this with this new perspective, what do you think?
I mean, the way the media was so concerted in their efforts to shut down any dialogue about Epstein was telling. It reminded me of 9/11.
Yeah.
And the push for the war in Iraq. You remember, the day of 9/11 and the days that followed, they showed those planes with every commercial break flying into the towers. They showed targets on maps of the U.S. They used blockbuster suspenseful music and graphics and everything to really pull us in and peak that PTSD experience. And all of the media was in concert doing this, of course. It was the same thing again with COVID, same thing again with Epstein. and it's just very telling. I think that's really all that I can say about that. But that's my first time seeing that gentleman, actually.
With Ben Swan.
Ben Swan, yeah.
I sent you the one. He did a great piece on Epstein's connection to Zelensky. Again, just like with the C-19, the pandemic for profit, I think my core takeaway from this has been endless wars for profit. That that anything that perpetuates war, including the manipulation of the media to keep people on board for or against war, because it doesn't matter, you can be for or against it, as long as the war just keeps going and I keep making money off of it.
Yep.
But Jeremiah, I'll pitch to you. Please share your thoughts on Pizzagate and take it wherever you want.
Okay, let's think. So I'll just share a little bit about me. So I moved to the Florida Keys back in 2014. And I'll be honest, I have to be careful because as much as
please be careful.
Let me speak in hypothetical situations. So not all of this is true information, and maybe some of this is just fun storytelling. So, a lot of this is may or may not haves, and just that's the safest way to say it, because I'm going to have to leave out certain details because defamation of character is a real thing, and I've been threatened by it. We're talking about this stuff by big people before who told me my grandkids couldn't pay their electric bills, Literally, I've had a job tell me that once. But so I was in the Florida Keys and just started noticing patterns. A lot of the restaurant owners were like CIA drug runners, and everyone jokes about it, and it's fun. It's, oh, this restaurant, there's he paid $1 an acre, and he bought this landing strip, and he flew all the cocaine in from Colombia, and he established Key Largo pretty much. And now he owns this big restaurant, among others, and he has a yacht. And I was literally invited to go back then and do underwater photography with a group of Boy Scout troops who are going down to the Virgin Islands.
Oh my God.
And I'm going to sound silly, but I was in a gate program young, and I feel like over and over, I would have groups approach me for these special interest, elite opportunities that would fall in my lap. And my mom was mentally ill. Could just be that, but I'll share some of the patterns, So then another spot I noticed the logo all around the marina. It had what looked like bullhorns at the bottom of, imagine a boat logo. And the bottom looks like bullhorns. The top looks like an all-seeing eye and a pyramid. And of course, it's the horns of Moloch. So right away, I'm like, okay, well, this is a logo they use to say, hey, there's child sacrifice here, right? Mm-hmm. So this is what started my rabbit hole, is seeing the horns of Moloch as logo symbolism, right? And this is after having a few things, hearing. So this restaurant I worked for had a cocaine running dad who brought the money in, and they shared the marina with the Marriott they shared the marina next door, where the guy was basically the Marriott. I don't even care. The Marriott International there in Key Largo. That guy was gunned down by machine gun in Miami traffic, and his kids they fought over the place. So there's definite CIA drug running and also cartel style drug running operations
Allegedly.
heavily tied in.
Oh yeah.
Right. It's not even hidden well, and so I guess what I'm getting at is over time I noticed that my friends, who are these very attractive, metrosexual looking, their eyebrows are plucked better than their girlfriends, and to each their own, but they were going to these parties at the owner of the restaurant's house, and my one friend's asking me how to set up a Swiss bank account, My other friend, I get him a job there. He goes over, he says that the owner would come out in his underwear and they'd all wrestle him and stuff. And you get what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they got that great picture of Mandelston in his underwear, the British Lord Mandelston, the one that had he's gone now. But yeah, Epstein was, go on with the underwear. I'm sorry, Jeremiah.
So to each their own, it's fucking Key Largo. The Keys, it's been very open. You can do whatever with your sexuality for a long time. But that's the thing. Here's the thing. This guy was not open. He had a wife. He had a girlfriend who you'd never see on the books. So as I get closer, I eventually a member of his the management team, they invite me to come stay at the house. They ended up letting me stay at the one guy's house of his manager. And the whole time I'm and I'm going to sound fucking nuts, but I'm is this guy a fucking spy? And I look online, he like matches 22 of the 23 criteria. This is before any of this crazy stuff either. Right. So he had a room where he made ammunition. He had books on how to make bombs and all this crazy shit in the room. Like I went snooping. I lived there for like a year. I love the guy, right. But he was like from Scotland, and he like never had his official U.S. citizenship, and he kept going on these random trips all over, and he had like so many guns. He had like the guns with like the biggest caliber. I forget the names because I'm not that guy, but he was like a hardcore. Like the thing was like, yeah, if they're a hardcore liberal, like, and they talk about it, but then they have all these big guns, they're probably, that's one of the cues. So this guy went to school with that dude up in Gainesville, right? And they had me come in, and like again, they had me like working management and their accounting office. I think the accounting office they were laundering and running money for that shit because they were doing business with and for and private events for Ocean Reef Yacht Club. If you look it up, it's like the top 0.001% of the top 0.001% of the richest oil tycoons in the whole world. I think this is the real Epstein Island, where Epstein is one of many satellites. Because what it is these elitists, they come in, they run the oil, it's all the fucking, all the people, but even like higher than the people we imagine, like the people that don't have names in the public, that aren't the faces, they are the actual people. And they come in and their yachts don't have customs check them. And they've all got submersibles off the side. If you've seen that picture of that little trap gate going down from Epstein's house right to the ocean, they use submersibles. The whole operation is run by the billionaires themselves. They just have submersibles in the side of their yachts, and they don't have to get customs checked because the fucking Coast Guard's in on it, bro. They'll bust you for a little bit of weed or a fish that's 3 inches higher. But how did they not notice all those fucking kids going left and right past Epstein Island?
Right.
Bro, the Coast Guard's a part of it.
Right.
The Coast Guard is a part of it. Probably a big part of that infrastructure. And even people I knew down in the Keys were part of it. This is an organized front, probably the CIA, satanic, all of it, but it's not just Epstein. That's a small piece. And I think what it is that's where they get him in, because it's at the southern end of Biscayne Bay. Like there's too much heat up in fucking Miami, you got that bay and you hear all that stuff. That's for the low grade shit. That's not the transhumanist kids. It's not like all this shit. This is like and the thing is they have to do the blood transfusions in international waters. Look up the Diddy, blood boys. He had a bunch of boys, young boys, that he'd pay, but they had to go do it off international waters. That's why it's all around these places. And, they're transfusing the baby blood, which is separate from adrenochrome. Right. Just want to clarify, because adrenochrome is like not blood. It's like you take it from the brain, and it's like a chemical that's filled with adrenaline. And from what I've heard from burners at Burning Man, you can buy it for expensive on the dark web, and that it gets you high for like 30 seconds to 2 minutes. And it's like a little fucking like erotic coke buzz that gives you like a fucking heavy heartbeat, And I'm not trying to talk down something so disgusting and just trivialize it, but I think they want us to be like, oh, adrenochrome it's adrenochrome, because even the new Epstein thing, it says like, you got to get a transfusion from the pack to reverse aging. I think the pack's that thing I was talking about. And I think they get the girls for the baby blood, and they just growth hormones are causing, especially non-Caucasians. It's like a 10-year-old grandmother. The darker your skin is, you're having your period at like age 8 now. And the lighter your skin, it's like still like 12, which is younger. It's the growth hormones. They did that shit on purpose. The same way you're harvesting cattle younger, they're harvesting babies younger, and we don't even know. We're feeding them the shit that does it, Milk does the body good. They put it right in their face, bro.
Jeremy.
So I think the boys, they take the blood for the adrenochrome, and they kill them, and the girls, they harvest them. And so basically, long story short, it turned out this guy lived in a gated community next to that. And I heard stories while waiting on his mom and stuff that like they were having ceremonies, like during the spirit cooking shit I was hearing about. Sounded like spirit cooking stuff. They were having people from Ocean Reef to his house, which was its own private, like gated, like 10-foot high gate, right? In the mangrove, 20 miles between actual Key Largo and it. And then he lives like a half mile from the Ocean Reef Yacht Club. And here's the thing, right before I left, right, which is kind of why I didn't go back, because I just started asking too many questions, and I realized the depth of it. And he was having dozens of island kids come right after the 2016 earthquake, and he was fostering them alone with no wife.
Oh God, dude.
And he was fostering dozens of island kids each year. And it's like, at this point, I realized if I he had like, and that's what these people do. A lot of the restaurants and tourist industry places, it's the human trafficking laundering, and it's the mafia, and it's the CIA, and it's Hawaii to Florida, here in Palm Springs with Scientology. I mean, it's fucking everywhere. It's a network. It's not just Epstein. It's not just that island. And
no, it's big.
I don't know.
When you brought in the transhumanism angle, you reminded me of Whitney Webb, who's done a lot of good reporting on Epstein.
Yeah.
And she's calling out Peter Thiel and all this whole apparatus that's being built. Palantir and all of that. And they've got their hands with the Trump administration. Now, it does seem like the media is trying to get all of us to focus on Trump, Clinton, and adrenochrome and things like that, and just focus on the crazy or focus on this figure or that figure. Don't look over here at the wizard behind the scenes pulling the strings. So the transhumanist agenda, that's been ongoing for a long time. I remember reading about that, 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, the whole conversation has been,
and the connection with Dracula, dude. Oh my God!
Yeah,
I did not know, but it all fits now.
Yeah,
there's some extra texture to that story I never got. Man.
Jeremiah, before I forget,
I can't wait for you to look that stuff up because. Go ahead.
Great research.
Before I forget this, I shared with Chris, you've lived a life of high adventure. I'm very envious of the life you've lived, and very, you made a very conscious decision. It's an amazing adventures in life. Tell people how they can follow you on social media, because you go out and you have some of the most, the dude goes everywhere. So please, how people can follow you, how they can support you. And then I got one final clip before we bring this to a close.
I'm going to follow you right now too, brother.
Jeremiah?
Oh, you're the shit. Well, just my first and last name, honestly, I'm not really anyone to hide. I'm the only one with my name ever. Jeremiah Spelas. Jeremiah Spelas. I had a Facebook, or I had another Facebook. I had a YouTube. I had it monetized. I had all this good stuff going, and then I lost it from two-factor authentication. My old channel, if you want to check out some cool stuff, I hit the road during the lockdown to actually infiltrate different occult organizations. And what I saw is transhumanists and all this shit on the road in real life. So I spent 2 years using a YouTube to go to all these big events and basically act like I was showing the positive side of it while really trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. So I did that during the lockdown instead of hiding in my house. I just interviewed people and had a blast showing the positive side of things when people needed positive media, while secretly going and figuring out what the cults at Mount Shasta are doing. What's going on with Santa del Muerte down in Slab City, just south of me, 90 miles south by the Mexican border. Yeah. What's going on with the Rainbow Gathering? What are these rainbow houses? Where there these rainbow moms watching all these runaway kids? What's up with these, the 4th of July symbolism that's everywhere? That's, goes back to Celtic mythology and Wicker Man symbology and stuff, So there's all this stuff that I realized on the road, learning from the occult, and honestly learning from the occult, from the people living out of their vans like a fucking Stephen King movie. And it's what led me to connect all the dots, honestly. So just Jeremiah's Journey is the old channel. And by the end, some of it I was coming out openly, but most of it was just me sharing the positive side of travel and COVID and life.
Jeremiah, share with the audience the biblical connotations of the name Jeremiah. I know you, I know your family, and I know that, you're able to see these things because of your religious upbringing. So please share your name.
Jeremiah means exalted by God. And what's interesting is I'm not even a Christian, and this is a whole nother thing, I love the Christian ideals, but I struggle with organized religion. But the main quote is I knew you before you were born and had a plan for you. Well, when I was 3, I told my mom, I remember my brother being born 13 years before I was. And there's this whole story. I remember saying he was born, he was on this state, my brother, my sister and I were up on this balcony and Jesus comes out all glowing and white. We grew up Mormon, so I probably watched some movies, but Jesus comes out and he's like telling us he told us the key to life. He said the meaning of life, the purpose for every grain of sand and every life that will ever exist, and everything that will, every star in the entire universe. He said it's love.
Man, that's beautiful.
And I was a 3-year-old. I told my mom that when I was 3. My mom was like a mentally ill, depressed woman. I'm like, part of me wonders if it didn't save her life. Quantum immortality in action. Now I'm here,
From
not
a
baked in a
child's
fucking
mouth,
oven.
Man, that's true.
But yeah, so I had this whole story of basically my mom being on a hospital bed then and them taking my brother out of her belly, and I had all these details. So it's just a little interesting that the first thing I really told my mom was this articulate story of my brother being born 13 years earlier, and then the main Jeremiah quotes, "I knew you before you were born and had a plan for you." It's kind of weird.
Something behind the formation of this cosmos seems to paint it full of synchronicities that point us to some kind of underlying truth, whatever we are referring to when we say the word God. I barely believe that thing exists. I had a premonitory dream once, and it was photoreal as though somebody took an event in the future, 2 weeks that happened later, and put it in my mind. It's like someone had put a GoPro on my head before GoPros even existed. This was back in my 20s. And this 5-minute scene played out. 2 weeks later, that exact scene happened. And I can't go into the details because it's a little bit personal and the law was involved. But I got a forecast from the universe of something that was about to happen to me, and it gave me an option to choose another path. That event absolutely did happen to the T. And I've never had a dream like that since that was so photoreal and not weird like dreams are, where the scene changes and next thing you know, your car's driving up some stairs or anything. It was just like a normal moment from my life. Everything that happened in my dream, from the step that my left foot was on when I got rushed by a bunch of police, happened in real life 2 weeks later. It was unreal, just unreal. So there's something more. And I guess we can bring it back to the whole Epstein event going on right now, the revelation surrounding these documents being released. And we see that these people who are obsessed with depravity and the darkest things we can possibly imagine really do seem to be serving something like that Luciferian Moloch kind of force that may well be a part of this universe. I don't know, man, but I love that you recognize love as the supreme unifying principle of life. That early on, man, that came to you in that way, and that I think does tell us something about the underlying nature of this reality.
I agree. Nick, do you mind if we...
And maybe that's what shields us from the darkness in this time, is holding to that love.
Love, yeah. I think, yes. I mean, this has got to be the time that we find love for our brethren, right? That those closest. I'm going to close with this. Let's play this Simpsons clip, and then we're going to come back and do a little rap. So hopefully a little bit of brevity.
Have failed. We need to make them work again. Tomorrow, when you are sealed in the voting cubicle, vote for me, Senator Bob Dole.
I am looking forward to an orderly election tomorrow, which will eliminate the need for a violent bloodbath.
I think that's about where we're at with politics, really.
I was cooking 1 second.
America, take a good look at your beloved candidates. They're nothing but hideous space reptiles. It's true. We are aliens. But what are you going to do about it? It's a two-party system. You have to vote for one of us.
What? This is a two-party system. Well, I believe I'll vote for a third-party candidate.
Go ahead. Throw your vote away.
Love it. Accurate.
All hail President K.
Oh, right.
I don't understand why we have to build a ray gun to aim at a planet I never even heard of.
Don't blame me. I voted for Kodos.
You can go ahead and close it, Nick, because that's about where we're at in American politics. I mean, they've got us at each other's throats, but it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter which one's in power. It just continues to move the machine forward.
Yeah.
So, Jeremiah, your thoughts on the division, and again, Matt Groening is connected to the Epstein files. I mean, that's, what closing thoughts would you like to share with the audience? I'll get yours, Chris, and mine, and then we'll call it an episode. Your closing thought.
Well, I love symbolism, and I guess I'll say I feel like if you have a platform, you've probably made some sort of contract, have some sort of thing to say that you're going to push some of their messages. So, I feel like that's why the grassroots really have a lot more. I feel like the devil moves through groups and God moves through individuals, and I feel like if you look back and you're into again, symbolism, spirituality, and Enoch, there's what's called the animal apocalypse. And it talks about how when the fallen angels came down and the stars fell, how there were these pure white sheep, and how they were perverted by the Nephilim. And what came from them were these mutated monster. Of course, it was the elephant and the donkey and the camel. Well, the only three parties we've had in the United States, we've got the elephant, we've got the donkey, and then the Prohibition Party was the camel.
Right.
So I think what we're doing is we're signing off on ancient symbolism that's basically saying, whether it's true or not, I think they believe they're the descendants of the fallen angels, and they believe that they're a lost bloodline, and that they get to be in charge of everything because of that. So,
Chris,
they're certainly acting like they believe that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that clip from The Simpsons because it's so true, indicative of our times.
Yes.
It does feel like divide and conquer methodology is alive and well. And if you were running an entire planet like this, the best thing you could do would be to pit the people in the most powerful nation of system of self-governance like our own against one another. And then you can steal the bedsheet right out from underneath them and whatever else you want to do. The fact that this has been going on for thousands of years, I think, is absolutely accurate. This is an age-old battle. And and I appreciate your thoughts on Christ or Christianity as well, Jeremiah. I'm not much a fan of organized religion, but I think that Christ guy had something going on. That unconditionality of posture, of orientation to the world, I think, is the way out of this mess. We can start arresting people, certainly, but how are we going to protect ourselves as humans, as human societies, without having this kind of love in our hearts that Christ exhibited for the world? And I think if we start doing more of that, then we're going to be less easily perverted and depraved, and we're going to produce more noble, virtuous leaders, and we can change this world from the inside out, man. I don't know what else we can do at this point, I mean, these people, they've got the lock on us, We got to find some kind of third way.
I want to thank both of you guys for coming on tonight and having this conversation with me. This has only begun. I mean, it's only a week. I mean, God knows where this goes.
Yeah, what is it, 2% of the files that are released so far?
Right. Jeremiah, I love you deeply. I look forward to having more conversations with you. It's been so long. My cousin Jeremiah and Chris, thank you both. Nick, you can go ahead and bring us out.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Nick. Great to meet you, Jeremiah.
Nice to meet you. Love you, Chris. Love you guys. Love you, Don.